Hi everyone, it's that time again. Welcome to Confidently Candid. Give you all a minute to come on in. How is everyone doing this afternoon? Hey, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. How are you doing? This is going to be a crazy one. I can't believe I'm going to be doing my makeup live. So guys, as you're coming in, please say a prayer for me, because this is going to be crazy. Hey. Oh my gosh. How is everyone doing today? Thank you guys so much for all your support, for always watching. It's much appreciated. This is my bare face at the moment because I will be doing my makeup tonight live. Hey, please share this. We are going to be talking about loss of identity. We are on episode 6. I can't believe it. So 6 lives. It's just mad. And so I'm going to be talking about loss of identity versus parenthood, in terms of what happens when you become a parent. What happens when you have children, or even sometimes not even necessarily children, but a particular point in your life where you lose who you think that you are and what your goals are. And I know this is just gonna be so crazy. I'm sorry. The fact that I'm looking like this right now. Oh Lord. But I have an incredible guest today. Fun fact, as you're still coming in, when I first received the blessed revelation of doing Confidently Candid, I was driving up one of the main roads near my house, and I was like driving my little orange car, for those of you that know about my little orange Citroen, and I was just driving and I was thinking, what happens to women or parents, shout out to the men, when we have a kid, when we have children, for those people that have twins on the first round or something, like what happens to us when we have children? Like when I speak for myself, when I had my, hey to everyone that's still coming in, please let me know, by the way, when you're in the comments. I know people watch sometimes, but I don't always get to see who is on. So if you could say hey in the comments and let me know that you're with me, hey, then that would be really, really great. Then I can get to know everybody as well that's coming on. So back to my story. So what happens to us when we become parents, and we are now battling, there's like an ongoing battle between ourselves inwardly in terms of who we were before and then who we are supposed to be, but then actually who we are like right now. It's a beautiful chaos that takes place because you are experiencing something so wonderful, which is parenthood, and as a woman being able to give birth to a child is a blessing from God. But then at the same time, the same blessing, that God gives to you, he takes you down another route. No, this is not for young persons only, my sweet Charlene. This is for everyone. Everyone is welcome. I just happened to be young, but this is for you too, honey. So you are very much welcome. But so this is what we're going to be talking about, really. What really happens to us I'm going to bring in my guest now. If you haven't already, please share. Please, 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 please share and let all your family and friends know that we are live and we are talking about some real conversations, real candid conversations. And we've been on 5 minutes now, so I'm going to go and bring on the incredible Crystal Lewis. She is an amazing makeup artist. She is an incredible mother, homeschooling mother. If I had a hat on, I'd take all of them off to give them to Crystal, because homeschooling, whoo, ciao. The devil tempted me with that in COVID, okay? Because let me tell you, the homeschooling is not for the faint of heart. So I introduce to you now the very incredible Crystal Lewis. Hey, Chris.
Hey, hi. Hello, everybody. Hi, Kim.
How you doing?
I'm really good, Kim. Really, really good. And I just want to say thank you, Kim, for having me on today. It's such a privilege, honestly. I've known you for a little while now. I've seen some of your journey. Yeah, I'm just so proud of what you're doing. And I think it's very beautiful what you're doing. And I love seeing your journey.
Oh, thank you.
And then this happens.
How beautiful. And to be honest, this is it, because I was going to give that disclaimer, actually, that I feel like that is going to happen to me tonight. So this is real life. We are talking about parenthood, and this is what parenthood looks like.
That's it, Kim.
So don't even worry about it.
I'm sorry for the hiccup.
Don't even worry about it.
All right.
So while Chris is going to sort out her baby boy, I'm going to start going in with my makeup, because I don't even know. I'm going to get a head start because Crystal is a professional. I am not. But one of the reasons that I wanted to bring Crystal on for this topic as well, not only is she an incredible mother, homeschooling mother, a businesswoman as well, but she's a makeup artist. And for me, one of my greatest struggles when becoming a parent was actually taking care of myself, was taking pride back in my appearance after becoming a parent. I struggled for a long time. I'll bring you back in, Chris.
Sorry about that.
Don't even worry. Like I said, I feel like that's probably going to happen to me at some point tonight. So just don't even worry. But I'm going to start with my makeup now. But I was just saying that I feel like one of this is going to be so hard for me to multitask.
It is,
Pray for me,
I agree.
But yeah, I found it so difficult to really take pride in myself after having kids. So I thought this was a great way to kind of have this conversation. But I wanted to ask you first. I gave you a bit of an intro, but tell everybody sort of like a bit about you and a bit about your life and your background. Like, what do you do at the moment?
Oh yeah, thanks, Kim. So I'm a mum. I'm 32 years old. I've not always. My faith is a massive part of my life. So Christ, me believing in Christ, me having a consistent church attendance, and kind of just I really do live that part of my life out quite loudly. So I came to know Christ when I was 22 years old. I'd lived in the world for 22 years. So when I come to know him, I just went all in for that. And it's been a beautiful journey. It really has, because it's been a lot of getting to know what I think is the truest part of myself. And on that journey, you know, I've started homeschooling, which I never ever thought would be something that I would do based on the background that I come from. But I felt very heavily influenced to do that with my relationship with God, because like, if you are a Christian, then you know how God speaks to your heart, and the little things that become very loud to your mind and what it is you're doing in your actions. So, you know, I started before I even had my first child. I've always been interested in beauty, so I'm also a makeup artist, which I absolutely love. I love making people feel beautiful. I love making myself feel beautiful. Like it's such a motivator. Really, really is. You know. And I also teach cheerleading 2 times a week as well. Yes. So that's pretty much me. Thanks.
Girl, you got your hands full.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a really, really full life. But you know, I know even for you as well. Like, you know, with all the things that you like keep up with, you're such a like ministry girl. Like, you know, you do a lot in your church, worship leading and stuff. So I know that we have that kind of understanding of how busy it can be.
It can be, yeah, no, it's true. Juggling parenthood, and then also, you know, like we were saying, all of the things that we want to do for ourselves. I'm just letting my eyebrows dry.
you know,
I look
I do
stupid.
videos on YouTube as well, right? And like I've never been the best communicator. I just don't think I've got it verbally. I'm not the best. And so like I'll be there, and do you know how much editing I have to put in just because doing my makeup and speaking at the same time?
Not easy.
Not for the light-hearted, honestly.
It's definitely not. Someone's asked what products are used. So far I've used MUA, or I don't even know how you say this in probably, but MUA or MUA Pro Base for my
Foundation?
primer, and then I'm
Oh.
using this Revolution soap brow because I like quite a big fluffy brow. My brows are my main issue. They must look good all the time. That's my favorite part of my face are my brows. So, I'm using this. It's like a soap, and so it helps to keep your eyebrow hairs up and in place. And then, yeah, so that's what I'm using at the moment.
Yeah, so in the
Yeah, go on.
okay. No,
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, I've got like lots of things that I use on a daily basis just because I do like to take care of myself and spend a lot of money on myself. But I also am a real big fan of like the drugstore stuff. That's just because I do feel like they provide such good quality makeup nowadays. And so I am like doing kind of like a mummy makeup look. So it's not going to be too drastic. It's just going to be just making my face look well balanced complexion wise, bringing that youth out of my skin. So yeah, at the minute I'm using the Elf concealer, which I'm in love with, especially if you're a brown girl, guys. These guys know how to bring out those brown tones in the skin. So they generally don't go with they do have peach undertones, but brown girls can instead of having like yellow, it's kind of between yellow and orange. I really feel like the Elf concealers are so brightening for us. You know, like I feel like the understanding of the nuances of black skin really comes out in this kind of concealer, and it was only £5 as well.
This
brilliant, Kim.
I'm looking for as well, because like I said, I was talking to you before we came on. I'm not really a makeup kind of a girl. Well, to be honest, and this is the thing with the identity that I'm talking about. I really used to be a makeup girl. I used to love getting dressed. I used to love putting on makeup. I used to watch YouTube tutorials all the time. And then I stopped. I've just used, by the way, LA Girl concealer. Vanessa, my sister, is going to cuss me now for still using LA Girl in the colour Fawn.
It's definitely worth. I think the LA Girl's definitely worth a shout out though, because they're so affordable. They have a really, really good range, and their concealers, they are really good. You know, the pigment, the coverage, really good.
I really love. Somebody's asked what shade are you using for the. I think it's the Elf
The elf concealer. So I'm using. They have quite a large shade range as well. I'm using deep caramel. But they do have a large shade range. Even like recently, I did it in a video recently, and I had like people come back to me and go, "Do you know what? This was a good concealer." Even my sister was saying, "Do you know what, Crystal? I really like the concealer." They do have a large range. So for me, my skin's dark at the minute because of the sun, being out in the sun. But I'm using deep caramel.
Okay.
So what shade are you using in the concealer, Kim?
I used Fawn. This is for my like color correcting. That's what I'm using.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna put my foundation over it and then use another concealer, which is tips I've learnt. Because I don't get much sleep. I'm severely sleep deprived, guys. So yeah, I mean, I haven't had a good night's rest in about 5 years. So,
oh my god!
Literally, my kids still do not sleep through the night. So so what I'll do is I will conceal before I put my foundation on, just to kind of get rid of the bags a little bit. Somebody has asked, what about a darker skin? Any recommendations?
But what product for darker skin?
I'm not assuming. I'm not. They didn't say, but
well,
I'm concealer and foundation.
Oh, okay. Well, the drugstores are really brilliant nowadays, especially with what's going on in the world. I feel like everybody's really reaching out to kind of cater for us, which is an amazing thing, and try to understand our skin and what makes our skin look beautiful. But there are a lot of brands that I would recommend. For me, Maybelline is a really, really good brand.
Got some
they are.
Today.
Yeah, they've got some amazing products. I think it depends as well on what you're gonna what you're willing to spend. Like NARS is an I just would recommend NARS for anyone, because it's very beautiful foundation. It has a really skin-like finish to it, and it really complements any skin tone. But if you want to go drugstore, I would say like things like Maybelline are amazing. NYX, even Makeup Revolution. To be honest, they've started providing, brown girl bronzers. At one point there was no brown girl bronzers around. So
it's true. I know. Makeup Revolution. I've just bought something out and it looks great. But I wanted to ask you while we're actually really doing this now. I mean, and like I said, I knew it was going to kind of go off the trail of the questions, but what I don't know how to phrase this, but you were saying that you don't you don't mind necessarily spending on yourself to in terms of getting the best products possible for your skin. Is that something? Do you think that's based on yourself and how you view yourself in terms of what you're prepared to? Because like for me, this might say it in a better way, I am a super scrimper and I've got to get over that. And so for me, I don't feel justified in spending a certain amount of money on makeup. Do you know what I mean? So
I do.
Like how do you do that in terms of like choosing what you're going to buy or justifying what you spend on makeup products?
Well, I'm a makeup artist, and I'll notice as well that when it comes time to look after other people, even my children, I can be very like proactive in doing that. But I had to I didn't find this journey easy. Like I had to pray. That was my thing. Like, God, help me to look after myself. There are certain things that I find important, and I will like prioritize. And so there's always certain thing I was going to do because I'm very like aesthetically pleased. So that came natural to me to always make sure that I was putting my best foot forward, and that also was in line with like whether this is healthy or not, that I'm representing a God who's like the most amazing thing ever. So I'll always want to make sure I'm my best as well. That's not just the way I look though. That's in my behavior and whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like God is like really put it on my heart. Like I've got to look after myself. I've got to be willing to spend that money on myself. It's easy to just spend the money on your children. Like I went for a good 2 years, and me and my sister was discussing this today. where I never bought any new clothes for myself at all. You know,
my life.
But you know, as of recent, I've just been like, you know, doing it, shopping on myself. At the end of the day, like, you know, I think what the revelation is that it's who I am, and me having children has made me realize the importance of who I am to God. So it's like, you know, I am the daughter of the Most High King. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am worthy. I am worthy of being taken care of and spending that money on myself, because I am the daughter of a king. I am worth that. And if he puts the finance in my hand, but I'm not saying at all be you know frivolous with your money. Yeah, or just like throw it away, spend it on too much stuff. I don't like wasting products, so you know, don't go and do that. But you know, like, if you know, it says in the Bible, like, that your earthly father will give you good gifts. How much more so will your heavenly father give you good gifts?
Yeah.
You know. So I just decided, you know, I'm gonna spend the money on myself, and you know, and even in that, I have to go, God, help me out with the balancing of that. Really help me out. You know, the whole time, Kim, I'm telling you, I'm like, God, help me out. God, help me out.
No, it's so true, because I definitely feel that that's been a struggle for me. Like I said before I had children, I've always had good jobs, so affordability necessarily hasn't always been the issue.
Yeah.
I think it was my view of myself. I don't think I ever thought that I really deserved it, and I didn't think that the perception of a parent was that you were supposed to always be providing for your children, you know. And so what's other people going to think of me if I am like always looking good? Not that my kids don't, but there's certain people that think that if your kids look great but you don't always look that good either, it shows that you're a great parent, and it's just rubbish.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a worldly concept.
Yeah. And so it's
Yeah.
true. I definitely had to change my perception in terms of, like you were saying, how God sees me. Like, what's God's expectation of me as a parent? And also the very fact that He's placed children in my care. He's trusted me enough. I've realized this eyebrow looks wild. He's trusted me enough with these kids, especially girls, that it's important for me to maintain a particular, like you were saying, I must always be showing people like who I must be representing God at all times, and even to my children. Do you know what I mean?
That's it as well. And you're like, you know, our children learn from us. We're not the only teachers in our children's lives, but they definitely do learn, like, you know, how much pride do I take in myself? How much do I look after myself as well as I look after my children? They're watching us be mothers, because they will one day be mothers as well. So, you know, like, it's a hard balance as well, because sometimes you can start doing something and the guilt's on your mind. I'm like sitting there going, oh my gosh, should I be spending half an hour on makeup? Of course I can spend half an hour on my makeup. That is okay. Even if I had to spend an hour, in 24 hours, I spend the rest of the time serving my children, feeding them, educating them, taking them out, making sure that they're well, you know, played out and, you know, in nature and all of those kinds of things. So if I take that hour out and I do that for myself, you know, I'm only doing what's right. I believe God, you know, I know God is a balanced man. Balanced, he's not a man. He's a balanced spirit.
I hear you going, he's a balanced man.
He's a balance. You know, God is not this. God knows how to look after himself. You know what I mean? And I think he teaches us also to do the same thing, but we can kind of let it go and just. You know what it is like? It's a game. You know what? It's not a game. It's like it's a matter of learning and walking through and just going. You know, I'm gonna have to learn how to balance looking after myself with balancing looking after my children and then my second child and my marriage and my home. You know, but looking after myself is also a priority.
It is. I realize that if I don't look after myself, then who's going to look after my children when I'm not able to? If I don't do the things that is necessary for me, then I'm actually not going to be in a great place to look after them in the best way possible. Somebody's asked, what are you using under eyes? So is it still the e.l.f. concealer, or are you using something else?
Yeah, so I'm using the e.l.f. concealer, at the minute, and then I'm gonna go in and just use, I really like, I also like, I'm just like throwing out a bunch of products right now, but I really like the new XX Revolution concealer. It's a really nice concealer as well. So I'm just gonna just because it's a little bit of a lighter shade, I'm just gonna go in the center of my eyes again, and just to kind of brighten up extra. But I definitely would recommend the e.l.f. concealer. It's a really nice concealer. But to be honest, the XX Revolution is a good concealer as well. I do so much makeup shopping, you know.
I don't. This is another thing. I'm not really good at buying the makeup, and so I definitely I've really got to try better, to be honest. I think, especially with, like I said, having girls, my girls as well, being so young, they're so into makeup, and I think that it's really important for me to not only enjoy it for myself because I love the end result. I love how I look at the end. But I also want to show them, a part of womanhood that is really, really important. Getting ready is it's such a great part of being a woman. I don't know about how it is for men, but I love like knowing that I'm getting ready to go somewhere and I'm taking a bit of time for myself to get ready. I really enjoy that. Somebody's asked, is it NYX or NYX? Are they
NYX or NYX.
Do they have good products? I think you mentioned.
Oh, they do. To me, NYX is a little bit a step up from drugstore, so they kind of trump things like L'Oreal, Maybelline, Sleek, that kind of Opal. Yeah. Well, Opal's really good, I'm not gonna lie. But they're the kind of that middle ground. They're the same as Morphe, so they kind of not quite drugstore, but not quite high end. And Morphe and NYX, I feel like they definitely understand just a makeup artist and how much is the detailness of that. So it's not that necessarily everyone's going out there and they're shopping as a makeup artist, but I feel like if you provide for makeup artists, you're also the kind of company that's providing the best makeup for everybody. So I definitely like NYX. They have a huge range of products. They literally provide everything, and Morphe as well. So it's really good.
They've just opened a store in Nottingham, which is where we are based, if anybody didn't know. We are in the city of Nottingham at the moment. So I haven't tried.
They did. I was so excited when they came. Because at one point, it was just an American company as well.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
I know. We have another. Oh no, that's a hair store actually. I was going to say we've got Sally's in Nottingham as well. That's just for hair. What was the difference between sort of like how you, because I know you said in your intro that you were 22 when you came to Christ. Did you have, what was the difference between how you saw yourself or your identity before and after? What were the drastic changes, or were there any in terms of, your identity and how you saw yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely everything, Kim. I feel like I've always been quite a naturally what people would consider in the world as a confident person, but that's only because I'm kind of really good at faking being confident. I'm really good at doing that, and that's just because I've been doing it for years. But there was a deep sense of understanding who I was, knowing that I was called, and knowing that I was chosen, and knowing that these are the things that God says about us, knowing that I was adopted by him, and knowing that I'm loved regardless of my weaknesses and things like that. I think it makes a huge difference. I wasn't raised with my own biological father. I was raised by a wonderful woman, which is my aunt. But I think I definitely had a lot of missing links, so my foundation wasn't very strong about who I was and what I needed to accept. My moral ground wasn't a strong moral ground. I was cared for really well, but kind of like how I felt about myself and how I should view myself wasn't a teaching that I received growing up. So then when you come into relationship with someone like who is God, and then you go and he says to me, you are my daughter, you are chosen to, to bear good fruit, and he's going to love me regardless of whatever my actions are. You do start to see yourself differently, and most importantly, you start to see yourself in a way that's like what I think the world does is like it kind of bigs you up in a way that makes you want to be confident in a like I don't know if it's like a pride way, but when God
I think it is. I know what you mean. It's
speaks to you
pride.
about your identity, you can be humble about it. Like you're happy to sit in the back corner of the room and not shine. And I
Yeah.
think that's there's a truth about life. Like with God, if there's a truth about life that you can only receive through His wisdom, and I definitely find it to be the strongest part of me as well. So literally, I feel stronger, more confident. I'm not too fixed on my weaknesses, stuff like that. I mean, for yourself, I know you was raised in like a Christian home, but you know, how is it for you?
I mean, I think for me, what's so funny is that being raised in a Christian home, I still had so much. I think I was the weight of people's expectation weighed me down tremendously. I think that I had I there was an expectation that I was supposed to live my life a particular way, and um, not fully understanding what life was going to bring as you get older and you are faced with temptations and all of those kind of things. I didn't know how to navigate that, and so I think that because I mean, giving away a bit of a spoiler here for season 2, but when I had how I had my first daughter was I was pregnant on my wedding day, and so that's for people that didn't know. But yeah, so for me, when I became a parent and my identity now changed, I struggled with how I thought God viewed me because of how I viewed myself at the time. And
Yeah.
I received so many confirmations that God had forgiven me, God had forgiven me, God had forgiven me, God still loves me, I'm still His daughter, I'm still called, I'm still chosen, I'm still loved. And it took me years to listen to God. And it sounds I have to
Wow.
say I have to say it like that because God was using His people to speak to me, and
Yeah.
so I plummeted dramatically because I felt like I failed not only God, I failed my parents, I failed my the church and the expectation as a pastor's kid, and being raised in the church. I was supposed to know better, you know.
Yeah. Well, now that you've got your own children, like how would you do it differently having been raised by pastors and being a pastor's child, and your children will be a worship leader's child or whatever that is, and what would you do differently now?
I think this is where I am honestly. If I could let you guys into my time with the Lord, I'm just every day I'm like, God, Father, help me. Help help me, Lord, because immediately leading on from next from last week, sorry, in terms of the loss of the life that you thought that you wanted, I'm already struggling because um this is not the life that I wanted to give to my kids. So now I have to get over that part to, like you say, to now parent them correctly in an environment that I didn't grow up in. I grew up with both of my parents. Was things perfect all the time? No, but it was a priority for my parents to have us both in, have them both, sorry, in our lives. And here I am now as a single parent. So it's not something that I necessarily learned from my family dynamic growing up. So it's something that I'm literally having to be led by God in.
Yeah.
I'm literally having to be directed in terms of how I raise these girls, primarily on my own. And so that's why for me, I'm finding that it's important that I get a clear understanding of my own identity now, to be able to then, first of all, lead by example, because they are going to see me in the way that I live my life. And then also to be able to lead them literally in terms of like telling them and guiding them via my words as well. So
Yeah.
it's a really crazy time. It's a situation. My eyebrows are stressing me out. It's a situation I never anticipated to be in, and so it's made me get down to the drawing board, which is myself. You know, I'm the foundation currently at the minute for our home, and so I have, the foundation starts with me and how I treat myself and how I take care of myself and the things that I put in place to ensure that they have the best outcome and the best.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, Kim, what you're saying, because I guess this is what the whole podcast is today about. You know, what it's about today. It's about, like, you know, God has not called us to stop looking after ourselves. We may go through a bit of a transition period where we're figuring out, how do I look after myself and my children, and we slack in one area or the other. But I do think that, you know, our children, especially as, like, you know, as a woman, and you're raising females, they are watching, how does mummy look after herself? How much attention does she pay to herself? Like, you know, one of the first things I do in the morning is to have that time with the Lord, because I need that loving. I need to love on myself, and God loves on me. And then, you know, just so that they see, like, oh, okay then. And then, you know, if Chloe sees, like, my daughter, her name's Chloe, if I want her to see that, oh, mommy cares about herself, like, I like seeing mommy work out, or I like seeing, you know, like, I grew up seeing my mum work out. I grew up seeing my mum do her makeup. I grew up seeing her have a, you know, care about herself, you know, like
Time
having
for
those warm
herself.
baths, and you know what I mean, having those candles around the bath and sitting in the bath, a nice bubble bath. That was, you know, like, because then she will think, do you know what, I'm not going to feel guilty about this. My mum did that, and she was a very decent mother.
Exactly, no, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because what I read the other day is, you know, I was reading Proverbs 31, and sometimes I feel like that Proverbs 31, with certain people, it can be held to such a high standard. But actually, if you read it, I read it and I was like, to be honest, not being funny, Lord, but I'm kind of doing this already. You know, I'm waking up early, I've got business, I'm doing this, I'm taking care of my children, and then until you actually change your perception of how you see yourself. You're like, wow, I'm a virtuous woman.
Oh, Kim, isn't that right though? Just change the perspective of how we see ourselves. Like, my thing is that one of the things that I've really loved about having children is I've seen how I believe God sees me. Like that scripture that I said earlier about, if your father gives you good gifts, how much more so your heavenly father. When my children do something, I'm not hounding in on them. Like, you know, I might for a minute if I'm embarrassed, especially, but you know, I'll come round to it, and I know their heart. I know what they're like, you know, and I know how delicate I can be with them. So I believe the Lord is delicate with me, and He, you know, He doesn't like try and beat me down. He's trying to say, I just know what you're capable of, and, you know, just get up from here, go on. And, you know, ultimately, think about it, Kim. Do you want Soraya? You want
Yeah,
sorry.
that's all right.
Yeah, that's it. You want them to be like, you know, when you see them, you're thinking, if for the next generation, I want my children to take care of themselves, to have time out for themselves. You want that for them, don't you? You don't want them to just be running around going, oh, I've got to take care of my 3 kids. Oh, I'm, you know, they might have a time where that's a bit of a struggle, and I think that happens to everybody because that's just reality. But you want them to get back to going, you know, I'm going to have these times where I sit in the bath and I read whatever makes them feel good, you know, because you know, it's necessary. It's necessary to keep in this game, longevity wise. It's necessary to take care of ourselves as well.
I think so. I think this is what I've learned. I think that growing up, it was important for mothers back in the day. Not that they didn't want to take care of themselves necessarily, but self-care in terms of choosing yourself over doing something was deemed as not necessarily good. You know, so actually saying no today, or saying no to some degree, I'm not going to do this anymore, or no, I don't want to do this today, or I don't want to do this right now because I'm actually going to prioritize myself, wasn't always the choice that a lot of mothers previously, or like maybe necessarily like my mum's era and my grandma's era, it wasn't necessarily the choices that women always made. Whereas
I think it makes you feel like, because there's a large group of people that are out there, and it still exists today as well, like because there's people that really thinks like that, it's like when you show up and you're like kind of all, it's like, oh, what are you doing at home, you know? But it's you know, even then I think it was, you know, we've come a long way in understanding that you know, that we can do these things, and not to judge other women if you see that they are doing these things. You know, like I went for a long time just thinking like I'm one of the, you know, I have some amazing friendship groups, especially my Christian sisters. Like I just love my Christian sisters. They just like, you know, like I never feel any way about what it is that I'm doing to myself, how I'm taking care of myself. But there is that what that people group that you was talking about, that presence is very, very real. And so I think even though they have that battle, there is a battle within the person like myself, who will definitely make sure that I feel comfortable and that I'm presented well. The battle for me is, don't let that make you feel bad. That's for them. If that's how they want to feel,
it's true,
that's okay for you to feel that way. Yeah, that's not me. I'm okay to be me. And I have to be like confident and lean into the Lord, because I wasn't directed this way for no reason. You know what I mean? It's like He made me this way. I have to lean into the way that He made me. That might be different to everybody else. It might be different to every single other woman in my friendship group. But I'm confident in the way that He made me, because it's all I got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think because a lot of people are saying it in the comments as well, in terms of like our parents and how we were raised and what we saw growing up. And I think what we're doing at the moment is changing we're changing cultures. You know, there's a shift that's happening in terms of like from, you know, even when you know, when you think about generations, so you've got like your grandma, your mom, you, and your daughter.
Yeah.
I think that we are, you know, in like 2020 now, and probably over the last maybe 10 or 20 years, in a sense that culture is changing, where women are allowed to do more in terms of than just cook and clean. And not that we don't, because I enjoy those things, surprisingly. I enjoy being, I think as some people might call it, like a homemaker. I enjoy all of that aspect of being a woman and being a wife. But I think that the whole doing it to death is not it's not an option anymore, because we wouldn't be able to do what we love, which is take care of our families to the best of our abilities, if we didn't take care of ourselves. And understanding that actually comes first has been quite a it's been quite an eye-opener for me. And like you said, dealing with the guilt as well, knowing that it's actually okay for me to do this. Actually, it's going to benefit and bless my family in the long run, because I have chosen to honor myself to a degree, and like you saying, like honor what God is doing to me and through me. So yeah, it's a lot. I wanted to ask as well, did you find any difference between like parenting one child to parenting two in terms of managing yourself and your time? Because I definitely found having one child a lot easier than having two. And then also I think by my second child I kind of came back into myself. I don't know if that makes sense. Like my first child was the easiest child because the little one, you guys will all meet Sienna. She's forced to be reckoned with, whereas Soraya was quite a mellow child. But internally, I was struggling quite a lot. So it's like the Lord knew that I needed that time with Soraya to be quite relaxed because I was struggling. So did you find there was a difference between your identity from one child to the next?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, you know, I've only learned this now, so not that I knew it at the time, but you know, like in anything that we do, we've got to give ourselves time, and sometimes we can be really judgmental on ourselves about things when we've not given ourselves enough time to relax into something. You know, it's like, you know, even with like my cheerleading business, I was so hard on myself in the first year, and I kind of feel like parenting's like that. Like the reason why it's, I mean, don't get me wrong, the jump from the first child to the second child, I found it incredibly busy. I really did. And I've actually heard, I could be wrong, so this is not a fact or anything, that, you know, the jump from 1 to 2 is the biggest jump you'll make. So when you go from 2 to 3 and then 3 to 4, but I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong.
I've heard that so many times as well. Like 1 to 2 is the hardest, and then like you could have all the kids you want after that, and it will just be really easy. That's what I've heard too.
Just easier to take, and I just think it's just the reason why that happens makes sense to me because you go, it's the first time you're jumping more than one, and so when you can do that first jump, the second jump is not as hard. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, I've got to jump from one building to another. Can you imagine? Especially if you're like scared of heights or whatever. The first time you do it, it's very difficult. The second time you're gonna come down a little bit more because you know you did the first time. You know, so you know, I'm looking forward to having my third and fourth child, but for me, I found the first jump to the second jump the hardest. But again, like, you know, I had like times where I was just looking nuts, you know what I mean? Like, I always remember this one that my sisters say to me, like, one time when they saw me, they was like, that is not the Crystal that I know. I was looking terrible, like, you know, I think I had like a half a wig on looking like a crazy lady. But do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, it's going to take time, and we have to be okay about the time it's going to take us, and also just patient with ourselves and patient with, you know, at the end, you know, sometimes as well, when we're having these conversations, I just hope people know that, you know, in those times, don't get me wrong, I was struggling. You know, it's easier to sit down and say it when you're in a comfortable atmosphere, your kids aren't around, and we're having what we're having right now. But
no, it's true.
It is the truth. It's the realization I get to at the end. You know, like, it's okay. It's just going to take me time, and I have to give myself that time. And I think one of the things that I really want to learn myself is just like learning to forgive myself, learning to move past things that I do wrong. Like, if I learn that about myself, I'm going to be a lot more gracious to other people. And generally, when I'm harsh to people, it's generally because I'm that harsh to myself in reality.
Yeah.
When I make those same mistakes.
Sorry, I'm just reading these comments. Hey to anybody that's joining, welcome to Confidently Candid. I'm your girl, your host, Confidently Kim, and I'm being joined by the incredible Crystal Lewis, aka Gracefully Madeup. If you haven't already followed Crystal, please go and follow her on Instagram and on Facebook. She's an incredible makeup artist, and we are doing our makeup live while talking about our identities during or after becoming parents, and just being women in general. So I'm just reading these comments. Kim got her lashes done. Vanessa's laughing at me. She said, because I think it's based off of your story that you was just saying that about your sisters. No, when I was pregnant with Soraya, my first child, I looked disastrous. All now, I don't even like to look at her baby photos. And to be honest, she had some stunning baby, and she had some really beautiful baby pictures. But I gave birth with like jail braids. I looked, awful, because like you were saying in terms of the forgiveness, I just wasn't there in terms of how I felt about myself. And so Vanessa's just here laughing about when I first got my eyelashes done and my hair done, and she said she almost shed a tear. That's my sister. Vanessa, you out of order. Okay, you out of order.
Do you know what it is as well, Vanessa? Do you know what it is as well? Vanessa was probably feeling so good to see you the way that you were, because she's like, I've not seen my sister like this for ages. She's like, thank God, she's got some life back.
No, but that's what happens as well. I think it's down to forgiveness. We had on our church, we had a teaching the other week, and we were being taught about the Lord's Prayer, and we got to the part where it says, we forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. And Minister Sarah, she dealt with the forgiveness part, and it was so important for me, because like you were saying, the forgiveness of ourselves is equally, that's what she was teaching, is equally as important as forgiving other people for what they have done to us. And I had to it stayed in my mind, because I know that is personally something that I struggle with in terms of forgiving myself. And she was basically saying that the time that it takes us to forgive ourselves is also something that God considers when forgiving us too, and so we try to forgive other people quickly because we want God to forgive us, but actually not forgiving ourselves neither.
But I remember hearing a teaching early on in my Christian journey that was about, like, where it talks about you treat your neighbor the way that you treat yourself. Like, if you are not there treating yourself there, it's almost impossible to be able to treat your neighbor. And that really stuck with me, because it started making me realize how hard I was on myself, how highly critical I was, how easy I was to pick up on my own mistakes, because I'm not able really to be like that to anybody else. Even if I can pretend, in my mind I'm probably judging you, because it's what I'm used to doing to myself. It's the standard that I hold myself. Instead of getting to that place where I start holding myself to the standard that God holds me at. Do you know what I mean? He talks about, like, he's like got rid of your sin as far as the east is from the west. Do you know what I mean? That he knows all the sins that you're going to commit, already, and he has already forgiven us. And it's things like that just makes me think, like, like I can afford to just relax. I'm not saying I want to get away with bad behavior, but trust me, our conscience ain't going to do that to us anyway.
Exactly.
Your conscience won't allow you. I don't know. It depends on the way you're built up, but my conscience, I don't need a condemnation message. I need a grace message, because I am already hard on myself.
Yeah, definitely. So Tanisha asked a question. She said, slightly personal question, so feel free not to answer, but did any of you feel having children affected your mental health as well? I'll say, first of all, for me, my mental health was impacted already prior to having children. I struggled with my mental health. So I wouldn't say having children impacted my mental health. If I'm honest, I feel like having children actually saved my mental health. I don't know. For some people that might be different, but actually having children, not to rely on them, but it allowed me to see, like we were saying earlier, the way that God sees me. It allowed me to, when I forgave myself, really understand that God has purpose for me. So has having children been trying and hard? Yes. Does that have an impact on your mental health? Yes. But has it been to my detriment, apart from the sleepless nights? No, not for me. How about for you, Chris? Did you feel like having children affected
Well,
your
no, do
mental
you know
health?
what it is as well? Do you know when I first had my children, it's really interesting actually. Actually, it made me more confident. It made me like, I don't know if it's like, like the mama lioness coming out or whatever, but it's like it made me hold my head up higher when I walked into a room. And I don't know if it's because it's kind of like an animalistic thing where it's like if you've got more in your tribe and your children are directly your tribe, they are your seed. So I don't know if that's why, but I actually felt a lot more confident. Like, when I came back to London after doing university, I was in a completely new friendship group. This is my mummy friends now that I'm talking about, and all of those women are very different from me culturally, class. Well, I don't know. It just I definitely have the confidence of my relationship with God, and that I could be anywhere and I was going to always be all right, no matter how daft I sounded, but with my children, they just made me like held my head up higher, and I just think it's because there's more of us. I don't know if that even makes sense, but
No, I get what you
I don't
mean.
know. Just
I think though, in terms of if there has been a part of motherhood that maybe has affected my mental health, I don't think it has anything to do with the children. Do you know what I mean? Like you say, I think it's trying to now strike the balance. So
yeah,
I am now a mother, but I'm also a woman. You know, I am
yeah,
also a woman, and what does that mean now in this environment? What does that now mean in terms of responsibility, and to
oh yeah,
myself
that's it.
and to other people?
Yeah, that's
And I think what I had to realize is to save my mental health, in a sense, then that I'm a woman first, and it doesn't take away
yeah.
from me being a woman or me not. In terms of how I take care of my kids and my family, but I'm a woman first, and that is how God created me, and he has an expectation of me to really embrace
I think
that.
that's it, and I think it depends on how selfish you were before you had children. And I think I definitely lived a very selfish life. I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of I did like little modeling stuff, and I think all of that really fed into this very selfish, self-indulged person. So then when I did get to the place where I was started having children, it was like, I don't know. And I think as well, like I was raised by my aunt and she did a really good job. But then, not being raised by my own mom, I think it was almost like I was getting that in a way that I never understood how healing could come about. So I think it was always like a pride thing. It was always like, oh my gosh, it actually makes me feel. And I guess everybody's different because everyone's unique as well, the way our minds work and stuff. But like you said, though, I think the way that it did affect mental health wise was literally just the ability to cope and to stretch what I was already doing beyond my own ness.
Yeah,
So stretching it to one child, then stretching that responsibility to another child, and then also realizing that like there are certain things I'm just not going to have time to do for myself. And yeah, they're like, like even with me and my husband now, there are nights where we just can't spend time with each other. We just can't because we just by the end of the night we're so knackered.
exhausted.
And
Yeah,
then to get into your own mind about that, about we never get to do that, and to put that kind of pressure on myself about me needing to be able to be this person. Really, I'm only 32 years old. I've got 2 children. Some of my friends that I know, they've got 4 children. Do you know what I mean? 3 children. So it's like, really, we're at the busiest times. We're early on in our career. We've got young children. We're early in our marriage relationships or, relationships. We're young Christians. If you're only just, it's a very early, busy time, and we're learning a lot of lessons at one time. You know.
I think I think you said it tonight as well, but it is, I've learned that with my identity, it's evolving, and that's something that I love about women. And I know it's not necessarily just women alone, but it's, I mean, I am a woman, so I can only talk from a woman's perspective, but I love the fact that we as women have the ability to evolve, whilst also remaining quite fundamentally the same. There's some things that will remain quite the same to our core, but as life progresses and evolves, we go from one child to two children to more, to married, or in my case, to divorce. So being single to then potentially being married again. We have the ability to progress with each stage in life, whilst also remaining quite the same. And I think that because the time will come where our children will get older and they're not going to need us because at the minute we have quite young children, and there's going to come a time where our children, they're not going to want us as they usually did. And we, that's where my mom is at this point in her life, where her children are all grown up. My brother's 21 now, my sisters have moved out, and I just turned 30. So they're at a place where you've finished raising your children, and so you're about to embark on another stage of motherhood or womanhood, after you've raised your children. And so that's one thing that I found, that I didn't want my identity to just be based on being a mother, because what happens,
and I think that should be it's quite a complicated one for people, isn't it? Because sometimes people can really just like throw themselves in and be like, this is what I'm going to be, and that's it, and kind of like walking through that kind of, this is what I really want to pay, because I think it's really difficult, because you want to be a very proactive you want to be there in every moment. You don't want to miss moments. You don't want to be like, kind of checked out or anything like that. But then, I think, so because of the desire of wanting to be such a involved parent that does the best job that we could do being earthly parents, that's where the conflict comes in. But that conflict is almost necessary because of the desire that's birthed in us to be this, like, just be the best parent you can be as an earthly person, and then, but this, like, conversations like this and then this, what we're doing today, and this kind of thing, I believe this is another desire that's in our heart as well, whether or not it's been as birthed as early as, say, mine or even yours, Kim, because I do think that every time I see you look stunning. I think you're a trendsetter. There's so many amazing things that you do, and I just look at you and I just think, damn, girl. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's because they're just both really strong desires in our heart as well, and just trying to work it all out is hard.
Trying to find the balance, it's not easy, because it's like, to be able, like you're saying, to do this tonight, it's not easy to make the sacrifices. But I think that what I've realized is that I want to show my children that they are able to do the things that they want to accomplish. Okay, Kim. Oh, this what happens to me after I do my makeup. If anybody was on, if anyone was on from the very beginning, I was nearly crying because I came on with no makeup on. This is what happens to me afterwards. This is where my kids get it from, because they're like, you like, yes, honey.
Oh my gosh, is that me? Is that the same person?
And do you know something? I know it sounds really stupid.
Isn't this about?
Sorry.
Isn't this a part of makeup? Like, like I remember struggling with makeup and thinking that it was like a worldly thing and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I've grown into it a lot more, and grown into just the fact that I'm doing what it is that I'm doing. That's what I've been called to do. But it's confident. Like, I'm not saying like drown yourself and you need to wear it to go out, but it's about giving yourself a little bit of me time. And then when you get out of that me time, you look at yourself and you go, oh my gosh, you look good. Or, oh my gosh, my skin feels good. Or, oh my gosh, like,
Just to appreciate
downloaded
yourself.
Yeah.
Honestly, to appreciate yourself. And to be honest, I think, because it's like what you were saying, I think in church, especially when I was being brought up in the church, my mum used to tell me the days where like you wouldn't even, could you come into church with red lipstick on? They'd think that you were backsliding, sliding somewhere, doing all kinds of things.
Kim, that's why I think I probably wasn't in the church that early on in life, because I would have been a rebel.
And to be honest, I think that these are the things that, like, they add to your identity, because you start wanting to appreciate yourself a bit more in a particular way, like wearing makeup or doing your hair, or like we were saying, actually choosing to buy ourselves something and appreciate, or actually just taking time out. But there is we are battling against certain cultures, but I definitely feel like God is using people like yourself who are gifted to allow women to feel beautiful, allow women to really enhance the beauty that God created them with. Because look, come on, if we say that God is a creator, are you trying to tell me God didn't create makeup? He didn't create that.
I'm telling you, like, we're all individual. That's it, and we're all like individual expressions of God. So like, you've got to choose to honor what people are doing in their own field, and not, I guess sometimes you can think something is a little bit too worldly, but I definitely believe that it's like, as women, we like to change things up, and we, that's for me anyway. I like to change things up. That's why I'm constantly changing up my hair. So makeup is just the way I can change things up, and it's one of the it's one of the things that men love about women, that they don't really get bored. They can get bored, but one of the things that they love about us is that's the change, so it comes naturally to us to want to change, and makeup is a big part of us being able to like change stuff up,
And yeah, it's the next.
But one thing I did want to make one note as well, is that like, I think that we have to know that that to look after yourself, like even if it's to put your makeup on, to do your hair, or to run yourself a nice hot bath, lay in that bath, put some candles on, put a podcast on, or whatever. Everything that we're going to do, just like looking after our children, it's going to be at a cost, So, because sometimes you're like, oh Lord, help me to do that, but we don't want it to come at a cost. We don't want to have to do anything to make that thing come about, So we have to use, whether it's our energy, our time, or our money, those things are going to have to be used, because it does come at a cost, because we're still human beings with free will. We have to put something in, And so putting that time into yourself, it's not just going to randomly find itself appearing. You got to make the time for it, and put the energy and the time in that it needs.
Ooh, that was a whole word right there. That was for me. Say thank you, because I think that I have it's like, even having children, there is a cost. I think that it's a cost, like with most things, that it's not going to be forever though, and I think it's being realistic about everything. There is going to come a time, like I was saying earlier, where we will have more time to ourselves, simply because our children are older and they require less of us. But do we stop giving ourselves the time that we need now because they need us more now? No. And I have had to learn that as well, that what I'm not going to do is wait until my kids are 16 to start taking care of myself because they'll be out with their friends. No, I am worth the sacrifice, whether it means me getting up earlier, whether it means me actually giving somebody a call or dropping them off at my mum's, and just be like, actually, I need a night. I did that the other day, I'm not gonna lie. I need to get a good night's rest where nobody is interrupting me, and I just need a good night's sleep. And I'm not a bad mum for that. I'm not a bad mum for wanting to go on a girls' night. I'm not a bad mum for wanting to do all of these things. But actually, I'm actually a good mum because I want to. Because it means that the time that I want to now spend and invest with my children will be my best time that I give to them, you know? So it's true, counting the cost is, that's so important. It's so important.
And think about it as well, like, think about how quickly we are to have that cost with our children, like, to spend those hours, to spend that money, to spend that time, you know, like, we at least deserve a fifth of that. I mean, 1/5, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we definitely deserve it. And we are like, you know, like, we're that, you know, we're a part of the structure of the building, you know, we're a part of the foundation of the house that's being built. And if it's not strong and it's not being looked after, it's not going to be a good house that you've built.
There's a scripture that I'm using at the minute in terms of how I'm like positioning my life. It's Psalm 128, and it talks about the woman being the vine in the house. So being literally the vine that goes up against the foundation, the structure. The woman is such an integral part of the. Honestly, it's a scripture that the Lord gave to me the other day, and I don't think I'd ever read it before, but it's blessed me so much because it really talks about futuristically, and that, you know, God's blessing will be upon us, and that I will get to see my grandchildren, you know, like, it really talks about my heart's desire, but it talks about the woman as an integral part of the family structure. And I've realized that if I don't recognize that as from a womanhood perspective, not necessarily a motherhood, but womanhood, then I can actually be a great mother and a great wife, and so
and that's it. And I think like the strongest thing for me is like, ultimately I want Chloe and like whichever other little girl I'll have, which I believe I'll have another one. I think that what I want for them is for them to see in me I'm constantly praying, God, help me to create good habits in the lives of my children. And one of those good habits is, how is she taking care of herself? And she's going to take care of herself the way that I take care of myself. So even if Chloe might see me selfish, or even for Niall as well, when he gets married, if he sees certain things in me as his mother, he's going to be okay to accept it from his wife. When she chooses to have times out with her friends, when she chooses to look after herself and put her makeup on, when she chooses to run herself a hot bath, he's going to see that and he's going to go, okay, that's normal for a woman. He's not going to be like, oh, why are you doing all of that? Like, you don't, you know, you're being selfish. But it's not going to do that, because he's going to go, oh, you know, I agree with my mum. She would do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
It's important.
It's the correct mentality, like you're saying, perception. Because I think sometimes those are the things that lead to difficulties in relationships as well, when you're thinking certain behaviors are selfish, when actually they're not selfish. They are self-caring, and it's changing that narrative, and also now teaching this to our children, and to you know, and then like you said, it goes on to the decisions and the choices that they make in their lives. Those are the things that we want to be able to see, and those would be the testament to, you know, how we raised them, and you know, what God has done in our lives and in their lives too, you know. So yeah,
and it goes both ways as well. It's kind of like, you know, how before Jesus left and he washed the disciples' feet, and you think like it's the same kind of concept, and it goes both ways, that you want your children to see you do plenty of humble actions, plenty of apologizing, plenty serving of other people, but also at the same time it goes the other way, where you want your children to see you take care of yourself, take time out. You know, it's like the reason why Jesus did that move where he washed other people's feet. It's like he's trying to say, I want you to serve other people, but also I, as a mum, I go, oh, I want you to see me do this because I want you to see that you need to look after yourself too.
Here's my interruption. I knew it was
Oh.
Don't you just love how we're talking about motherhood and motherhood happens? I just feel like God is just so hilarious. He just allows us to, it just allows it to happen. But honestly, Chris, it has been such a blessing having you on today. It really, really has been. I feel like, I mean, I think we just got through our makeup. We didn't even get to tell anybody else what we used. But if you want to, I think I might as well. What I might do as well is just like in the comments, just write what I used in case anybody wants to know. So,
Okay.
you know, if you could do that, that would be really, really great.
Definitely.
What I'm gonna do, I mean, I don't know if you'd mind, but would you mind praying for any woman or parent out there that may be dealing with, you know, conflicts internally with identity and parenthood and you know, self-care and taking care of themselves? Would that be okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Kim. Definitely. Okay, so Father, we love you, and we come before you now, you know, as your daughters, as your hands here on the earth. And Father, we just come before you humbly, just, you know, just to say, Lord, help us to love ourselves, help us to see ourselves the way that you see us, you know. Show us the beauty that you've created in each and every one of us. When we look in that mirror, just show us what's beautiful about ourselves. Help us to look after ourselves, Lord, so that we can better love our neighbors. Really make that scripture tangible about treating people the way that you would like to be treated. So help us to treat ourselves the way that you created us to treat ourselves. We really need your help in that because, you know, our thoughts can sometimes be very worldly wired. So we ask for your help in that. And anybody that's listening to this prayer, I just pray, Lord, that you can help us to see ourselves the way that you see us. Beautiful, help us to give ourselves the time that we deserve. And you know, we just come against the power of guilt in our lives. And that when we are spending that time, that Lord, that voice that's very loud, that's telling us we shouldn't be doing that because we should be serving elsewhere, that Lord, your spirit would pop up in that and help us to know, no, this is what you should be doing because you are worth it as well. Father, teach us how you see us, like I've said it a few times, but, you know, creating us the identity that you created for us from the beginning of time. We love you, Lord. We come together as a whole to pray this prayer, and we all agree in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you, guys.
Kim, thank you, Kim.
Oh, Chris, honestly, you did it.
You're amazing, honestly.
No, honestly, it's been incredible having you on with us tonight. You are an incredible woman. You are an inspiration. If you haven't already, please go and follow Crystal. She makes YouTube videos and she has an incredible Instagram. She's done some beautiful looks on some amazing women as well. So please stay up to date with whatever Crystal is doing. And again, thank you so much for coming on. Please join me next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. We will be talking, we're still on the lost lessons. And so we will actually be talking about the loss of a child and what that may feel like and what that may be experienced, what that may be like to experience. So please join me next week at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. But again, Crystal, thank you. And to everyone that has watched, thank you so much. Please share if you've loved this video. And, you know, if you feel that there's somebody out there that this may really help and really encourage. And really encourage.
Hi. Hey, Mama.
But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next week. Chris, take care. And I'll see you all. Thank you guys.
Honey.
Bye.
What you're doing is amazing. See ya.